Welcome to Conversations in American Democracy. It's good to see you all. We have, as always, lots and lots to discuss. As I say, I sort of set a topic on Sunday, and of course by Wednesday, so many things have changed and there's so much more to talk about. There was a bit of a misunderstanding. I do want to make sure that everyone realizes that houses of worship in the United States have always been free to endorse candidates for office. They have always been free to endorse candidates for office. However, starting in the early 1950s, there was something called the Johnson Amendment that said if you want to avail yourselves of the benefit offered by the Internal Revenue Code, you cannot engage in partisan politics. So the IRS offered to houses of worship, as they do to most nonprofits, the ability to A, not pay taxes on your income, and B, have the people who make donations to your organization deduct those donations on your Form 1040 tax form. So that the houses of worship have been able to endorse candidates. However, if they decide that they prefer not to pay taxes on their income and to maintain the deductibility of people who make donations to them, they can opt out. And there have been some 501c3s that have opted out. Generally, by the way, they become something called a 501c4. That's a section number of, and so I don't know whether you realize, but your donation to the NAACP is not tax deductible, because it's a 501c4 and endorses candidates. But the NAACP legal fund is a 501c3, and you make donations to that, then it is deductible. So if a house of worship decides they want to avail themselves of that benefit, and again, there are just a few who have not, but if you want that benefit, you have to pay the price, and the price is to refrain from partisan politics. That, of course, has disappeared. It used to be you wanted a benefit, you had to pay a cost. Now, the new way is you get the benefit, and there is no cost. And so we will see, as we mentioned before, churches and synagogues and mosques and all sorts of nonprofits and particular houses of worship endorsing public candidates. That was a misunderstanding that somehow developed out of one of our discussions recently. So let us hypothetically say you're in the federal government, on the federal workforce. Well, you know what? Let's stop for just a second and do you want to talk about the Constitution?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Always.
Okay. And then we'll go to Vicky and local demonstrations and the like, and then we'll go to Mark and talk a moment about local government. Go ahead.
Okay. Amendment 4, Fourth Amendment. Very important, one of the civil rights ones. The right of people to be secure in their persons. And that is their language of the revolution. But what it really means, persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall state, but upon probable cause supported by oath and affirmation, particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. There's a caveat to that, in plain view. Have you heard that? Mm-hmm. So that means an officer can come up to your car and he looks in the window and he sees evidence of a crime, right? So that's the main caveat to the Fourth Amendment. If it's in plain view, you can be searched, or they can get a warrant, and they can search you and, of course, seize the stuff and then indict and prosecute you. Everybody understand that?
Question, Kurt.
Yes.
Is this plain view?
Your phone? Is
Well, it would be. It would be if there was something on the phone then, too.
Yeah.
If there's nothing on the phone, it's not on.
Can you search Someone's phone.
No,
Yeah.
no, you can't, not without probable
Probable
cause, right?
I turned
Yeah.
off biometrics at the last rally,
Yeah.
so that they can't just take your phone and hold it up to
At
your
your
face.
face and, yeah.
Or
and
look
access
at your,
stuff.
look and see if you have an abundance of memes that
Yeah, or
give
grab
you
your
a political.
hand and put it,
Is
you
there
know,
an
your thumb
exception
down.
to that though, with- after was it the Patriots Act that was declared after 9/11
yeah, and-
because of the airports do take your phones and look through your information?
Yeah, and there are those who say that the Patriot Act was the begin, we can look backward now and
Right.
see the incremental growth and infringement on our rights.
Yeah.
I
Fourth
don't
Amendment.
focus on probable cause or plain view, but rather on the very beginning of the Fourth Amendment that says this applies to all persons. Okay? And that's important because they had the option of saying all citizens or all people with proper papers or all anything. It's all all Americans, but it's all persons. I think is relevant. Anyway, thank you very much, Kurt. Tell us, Vicki, what's going on. Where do you need us to come and wave signs?
There's always a lot going on with 5051. Just last weekend, there was a Rage Against the Regime nationwide event. Many of us in our group broke up and went into different directions. Mary Liz and I were texting a few days ago, and I was giving Mary Liz some addresses of rallies for her to go to that she wanted. And she said, well, what do you think is the best bridge around? And I said, honestly, I think it's ours. So she sprung into action, and within 24 hours, had a rally right here in town. So last Saturday, a bunch of people came out with Mary Liz, and we're on the Palm Coast Parkway, and so thank you for that.
Michelle.
And Michelle and Sam, and there was a lot of people who helped make that happen. And that's what we need in this community. And so one of the things we are working on right now, just this week, we organized another bridge brigade that will happen next Friday night, the 15th, from 6 to 7 p.m. in regards to, the theme of it is Be Brave. And the reason for that is many immigrants and leaders stood up at a recent meeting, and that was in Orange County Board of County Commissioners. Leaders and immigrants stood up and were asking their local leaders, please be brave, please stand with us. And so now there's been a movement that came from that to have rallies with the title Be Brave to stand up for immigrants. So that's what the rally next week, next Friday, is all about. But as we all know, as you were saying, Meryl, things are changing every day. And we are aware that Randy Fine is coming to the Putnam Fairgrounds next Thursday night. And he will
That's
be,
our U.S. representative in Congress, by the way. Go ahead.
Randy Fines. And he is going to be speaking there with other Republican leaders. And from what local Democrat leaders had found out, it was supposed to be an event for everyone. And then as local Democrat leaders made phone calls about it and looked into it further, they're not being told they can come. And they're not being told that they can have tickets. And so we have a woman from our community here, Kathy Moon, who's a precinct leader, along with some other precinct leaders we have in this group. And she's also a leader for Putnam 5051, where Randy Fine is going. And that's because she used to live there, but she doesn't anymore. But she's a leader over there as well. And so she, has this information about the August 14th, that Thursday, next Thursday. And so she and a lot of local Democrats are planning on going to this event, but they're concerned that they won't be let in. And that's upsetting to them because they're constituents and they want to go. And so they're going to have signs in their cars ready that if they're turned away from this event, to go out to the road and wave signs saying, I wanted to speak with my representative as well. So they're preparing for that, and in doing so, they reached out to Flagler 5051. And they said, if you have any local people that would want to come, please do. And different people can make it to different events. And we want people like Mary Liz, who stood up and said, I will do this bridge rally. to, stand up and organize as well. And there's a woman within our group, Roberta, who is interested in, going over to this event, and Cindy showed interest in the event as well. And so there's going to be some people coming together to hopefully, set a meeting place and say, anybody who's interested, let's meet up, at the library or whatnot, and follow each other over in caravan over to support Putnam 5051 and see if people can get into this meeting. And if not, sign wave outside. So please watch Flagler 5051 page for that. That should be happening. There's seems to be enough interest from enough people to make that happen, so please watch the page for that. This coming Saturday, people are planning on joining the national strike and not spending at big box stores, but spending at local mom and pop shops and tipping big to people who take on an extra shift on the weekend or whatnot. And Sunday, Flagler 5051 is having a social at a wellness facility because this is National Wellness Month. And we are giving tips every day on our page about taking care of yourself, finding joy in life while we're protesting and we're working hard for others. We have to, put on our air mask first, right? We have to take care of ourselves first to be able to take care of others. So every day we have tips about that. This coming Sunday is our social. People can find out about that on our page, and to see a lot of you there. We'll be having some fun activities and having a speaker talk to us about wellness. So a lot going on.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
No.
Yeah. Thank you. And just my bugaboo, 5051 is not 4 digits, but it's 50501. Mark, what's going on in local politics? And keep it brief, even though we could write a novel about it, I'm sure.
Well, I had a business meeting last night. Sadly, I wasn't able to attend, but I watched it on YouTube in bits and pieces. Is everybody aware of the new industry that they're trying to bring in, the concrete batch plant? Is that news to anybody? So,
I thought that was dead.
no, that's a different,
This is another one?
This is another
You think
one.
of the fuel farm or of the,
No,
of the
there's
concrete? Yeah.
so last night they discussed the rezoning of some property at the back end of Hargrove, which is off of US 1, which is opposite the Humane Society, back in the back. And the meeting was well attended by over 20 plus business owners that have various businesses back along that road, because the city has been approached by a company, we all probably heard the name Ready Mix. So basically a batch facility is one in which the delivery concrete trucks come and get loaded with a recipe of products and then go out and deliver them to construction sites and whatever. And they want to put a facility out there in 38 acres, and they were presenting to the city that they wanted it zoned accordingly from light industry to their level. I had not heard that much about it until paying attention. I'm wondering, why don't they let them go to the facility that Bellevue wanted just down the street away from everybody that's already zoned that way? But I don't know. But the vote was 2 against, 3 for. That was the first reading, so they got to bring it back. But clearly, I recommend to people, if you're interested in knowing more about it, the impacts I'm concerned with is the fact that you may have up to 25 concrete front loader, those are the big ones, coming in and out of Hargrove onto US 1, and there's no light there. So you're gonna have an addition of all of these trucks coming through there and also impacting that road. So that was highly recommended if you go pull up YouTube, take a look at that and see what's going on.
Go ahead, Kurt, go ahead.
Yeah, what side of the tracks is the plant gonna be on?
East side. You
Oh, it's on
won't, you don't cross the tracks.
Oh, okay.
So basically, it's only about, I'm gonna say 2 miles down Hargrove.
Yeah, I know.
And then to the left, south,
Right.
there's a cul-de-sac with a bunch of businesses.
Yeah,
If you haven't driven down Hargrove Grade, just north of the light at Palm Coast Parkway and Route 1, and then go west, again, opposite the
Back
Humane
there.
Society. But Al, haven't,
You said that there were
then Sue and Vicky.
local businesses on Hargrove that were present. What was their reaction? What were their feelings?
All 100% negative. Their concern, I think, was some of these businesses have been there for 15 years, and it was zoned light industry, and those are kind of like the strip malls and the car repair shops and those things that you see that are in those standard small business facilities. And then all of a sudden at the tail end of this, they go and they're going to zone your neighbor to allow for heavy industry to come in. And so they were there, not one of them were for it. They were for the need and understanding of growth requires concrete. It has to be within a certain proximity of where the growth is, because concrete is always trying to get set or hardened. So those trucks have to be within a certain distance of your home if you're building it or whatever else is going on.
Okay. Then the town hall, the Norris, and the time building.
Several of us attended the town hall meeting with Mike Norris. It was a Mike Norris event, had nothing to do with the city. It was well attended by Mike Norris supporters. The news was there, Pierre was there, Brian from the Observer were there, and not a lot of hardball questions were asked. Vicki asked some great questions, and it shows what pizza and food and
I didn't go for the
pastries.
pizza and food. I went for Mike Norris.
I understand, but there were over 150 people there, many, many times more than what the other council members' attendance, because excuse me, I've attended all 3 of them, and there is one coming up with Dave Sullivan this month. Take a look and see. I am interviewing Janet Sullivan, our DEC chair, hopefully next Monday. I'm very excited to have her present understanding of what the Democrats are doing in Flagler County.
What's the name of the,
Oh,
where to look?
Ponderings from Palm Coast. You can find it right next to where these are there on YouTube.
Yeah.
And also, we're set to interview some of the communication directors at the City Hall the end of next week at City Hall to talk a little bit about Palm Coast Connect, how can citizens better find out what's going on and what's happening, because they are working real hard to be as transparent as possible.
Go ahead, Vicky.
I'd like to bring something up. One of your guests that Mark's going to be having come up is a young, progressive young man leader. Matt. And I just wanted to say, I know you have that in the works, but Matt and some other progressive leaders, and I wish Dave was here to let him know, but there's a Zoom meeting tonight for progressive leaders and people interested in the what's going on in Florida with the progressive movement, and information for that and to get onto the Zoom link or whatnot can be found on Flagler 5051. So if you go to Flagler 5051 today, I'm sure you'll find the link and can join that meeting this evening if that is something you're interested in.
I still have his number, and I don't have that
Dave.
access, but maybe you can
Okay.
forward that to him, because I still
Sounds
have it
great.
from
Yeah, I'd
last
like to let him
meeting.
know.
I did have one question about the concrete.
Mm-hmm.
What, if any, discussions were there about the environmental impact?
There was a lot. There was a presentation made by the builders of the facility. They went through and talked about their water collection system, their filtering system to capture. I personally have been in and around concrete for many, many years. I actually, at one point in my life, was a concrete inspector where I would go and watch the concrete mixed. I would take samples of it for verifying hardness. They're called sumps, where you break them and how much, there's a whole science to it. And clearly they've come a long way in trying to control dust, debris. That wasn't the concern that I was hearing from the public as much as the impact of a facility going in
I understand.
that was not zoned for it, and they want to change the zoning to bring it in, which I think should be something that we citizens need to realize, as we've learned with the Belvedere, that you can be in a residential and everything's all well and good, and there's some land behind you, and all of a sudden reactors getting built in there in extreme.
And we already have one huge contaminated parcel over on Colbert, you know, from the concrete plant that was
Yeah,
there.
we're
Now,
not-
whatever they,
Right.
Right.
the difference,
Similar.
I don't know if they were, you know, actually making
Right.
concrete there, and they're just kind of moving it from one, you know, vehicle to another vehicle at this other place. However, you know, hopefully we learned our lesson over there. People will remember. And the builder of the facility will, you know, do more than assure us that this toxic stuff is going to be contained, because we're so close to the aquifer.
Are you
Yeah.
talking about the old?
Where the smokestack, that big stack is, yeah.
That was a huge screw up. They realized they couldn't use the coquina sand. And then it never really got off the ground. Because they
It's
had
my
the-
understanding
they had
that the
wrong-
land is contaminated, but.
Well, yeah, but they had the wrong sand, and so that's what was.
Yeah, interesting. Kirk, go ahead.
Mark, how are they, this plant, what is it, it's just, they're gonna pour concrete, or
So concrete is,
are
concrete
they gonna
is-
make blocks? What has?
No,
No.
no. So
Go ahead.
concrete is a mixture
Right.
of various material. The concrete, when we hear the name concrete, it's a specific product that gets mixed in with sand and aggregate, which are stones, small stones, big stones. We've all seen those nice driveways that have all the really pretty rock in it. So that's called aggregate.
Yeah.
And so all this facility's doing is you put in an order for a slab at your house.
Yeah.
They then have a truck for 10 yards, 5 yards, and there's a tall tower in which a loader pulls up so much of the recipe. It goes into a big, almost like a granary. The truck pulls in underneath it. The dry material dropped in there. Water's dropped. It starts spinning, right? Mixing it as it drives around. Goes, does your pour,
Deposits it.
and then comes back, cleans the truck out, and does it again. And they were estimating, he said he thought he was gonna have 8 trucks doing about 8 to 10 deliveries, possibly a day. So the impact of the heavy truck and all of that in on the roads and stuff.
No, it's
But it felt like, and I highly recommend if you're curious, to pull up last night's YouTube video. There's just a small section where people were talking about it. There were drawings and descriptions and things that were going on.
But is there
Okay.
contractors that are making forms? And, because there's been some houses built like that here. you know?
Tilt-up house forms.
Yeah.
I don't think they do those anymore. And those forms are pre-made elsewhere and then trucked on
Right,
into
yeah.
residential areas. But they do a good job with the presentation. Go ahead.
Arnie, you,
Yeah. The meeting, I was at the meeting, I was at the town hall, so one of my sensitivities is separation of church and state, I believe in fully.
you're talking about the Mayor Norris, is the town hall. We switched from the cement plant to, yeah, okay.
Town hall, yeah. Started off with a
prayer.
okay, but it was extremely Christian.
Yeah.
I thought it was inappropriate.
Who offered that prayer?
Well, he called upon somebody to say a prayer,
Uh,
and the person did, and again, it was
Right.
very, very Christian prayer.
uh,
I thought it was inappropriate. What was he talking about that they invited Doge?
that's
So
all.
what happened was the state put together a Doge action group, if you will, a group of people. And the governor sent out a request by forms, multiple documents that were sent to all the cities, including Palm Coast, in which the the temporary city manager filled them all out. This is what our budget is, this is what our debt is, blah, blah, whatever it was, and submit that back. And you know now, you're seeing in the news that those audits have started, and surprisingly, they're only going initially to all of the blue Democratic, Jacksonville, Orlando, and those citizens. So that's what they were talking about. Doge catchword for justification of fiscal conservatism, and they choose to pick up. So that's what he was talking about. And he made it clear, I felt, that if you looked at the publicity of the meeting, that it was not a government function, state function, city function. It was him, and he claims he was not even acting as the mayor, but just having an open forum conversation about things that were going on. Because some other things were happening that have been brought into question, where they were passing around documents for people to sign, petitions to remove Charles Gambaro from his seat. And that clearly wouldn't have been legal
No.
in any kind of government meeting that you were in. So if we all haven't figured out that a rule's not broken until you're caught.
Did you mention also, I came in late, somebody offered her husband, who's an accountant, to be a forensic auditor?
Yes,
Whatever happened with that?
no idea. Name was taken and that was it. Happens all the time. But the last and final thing I think is
Okay,
important
let's go on.
was at the very tail end, once again, if you stay the last 5 minutes, Councilman Miller posed the question, does the city feel like getting involved in helping supplement the library money issues that the counties have? And I'm glad he put that forth, because I spent time talking to him about that at his town hall. And he presented it to the council members. So it's like $180,000 a year shortfall. They're wanting to close the hours at our library. The decision, though vague, was they're gonna wait and see if the county is really serious about reducing hours and funding for the library before they even want to get involved. And the county does approve their budget days before we do. But it was brought up, there was a conversation. Every one of the city council members are fully aware, and understand what's happening. So keep
Okay.
the pressure going, your petitions, but we need to be focusing at the county level.
Yeah, the
We need to be
libraries are-
going to the county level. We need to be commenting and reaching out to the county commissioners because that's what the city is waiting.
It's a
for.
county library system, by the way.
Yeah.
Them.
So anyway,
By the way, how much does each cement truck hold?
10 yards maybe, I think?
It's 9 cubic yards.
Right.
So that if you use the entire load, you've used up the whole 9 yards. Okay, and that's true.
That's where that came from.
That's where that,
That
that's
is
where that
right.
came from,
That
okay?
is
Just
right.
if you wanted to know. If you'll
fast,
indulge
isn't
me
it?
for just a second.
I'm sorry.
If I ever go on Jeopardy, I have the answer.
57006 didn't answer. You've reached the voicemail of the Honorable Randy Fine. Please leave a message.
So I am confused.
Hold on.
Oh,
Oh,
wait for the beep. If they have a beep, please leave a message, and they probably have no beep, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't want a message.
Recording, maybe.
Oh, is that-
No, okay.
call back?
Yeah,
for the
okay. They're waiting for the beep. There's
Randy.
no beep.
that's
I guess Randy Fine doesn't want to hear from us. I wanted to say that that we want a town hall
You
meeting
know, I've called,
in
every
Flagler
time
County.
I've called, somebody's
Yeah,
answered.
yeah.
Speaking
You
of
heard it.
Randy Fine.
Do we have to? Yeah,
Who is the
okay.
Democrat that's thinking of running for that seat?
Excellent question.
Oh, that
Well, it was
general
Josh
guy?
Wheel.
No,
No, I'm sorry, that was last cycle,
Yeah,
yeah.
this cycle, who is the Democrat?
I'm-
Who is this mysterious Democrat?
I don't know if a serious Democrat, somebody named Schwab, SCHWALB,
Really?
said something on Facebook, and I said, I'll be your Flagler County, part of your Flagler County team or coordinator and so on. And he said, wow, that's really interesting, I'll get back to you. And that's 3 weeks ago, and I haven't heard anything else. But I would encourage, okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. Again, we're almost a year, a little bit more than a year away from the primary. We know that in the primary, or it sounds like Charles Gambaro, General Gambaro, who's on our city council, will primary Randy Fine, and that leaves us in an uncomfortable position, and some of us, certainly precinct leaders, have taken an oath that they cannot support a Republican for any office. But assuming Randy Fine survives that, who will we run against him?
Is anybody contacting Conklin? Or is she will?
By the way, today, Colleen, tell her who Conklin is. Explain who Conklin is.
Well, Colleen Conklin was on the school board for years
Yeah,
and
for
years.
years, yes.
And she left the school board, and
And by the way, when is her birthday?
I have no idea.
August 6th.
Oh.
Today's her
Okay.
birthday.
Happy
Anyway,
birthday, Colleen.
along with the whole
Just
9
like-
yards, you
I
now know that
always
Colleen
thought-
Conklin was born on August 6th.
I always thought she
And
would
the
be a
drop
great
of the bomb.
candidate.
Of course, but
She-
I thought
yeah.
she's working at Embry-Riddle, is what I
She
thought.
is.
But she
Yeah,
is,
she
but
has
she
been
she has
for
run.
years.
She ran for her seat again while she was still working at and while she was working at Embry-Riddle. I have actually. I didn't quite get down on my hands and knees when I had a breakfast with her and beg her to run again, but. She this is another discussion. She feels the other side, the quote unquote other side, plays dirty, and she doesn't want to run. But I've
Well, she's
encouraged
been
her
on
to
the
run.
receiving end of that.
Exactly,
Permanently on
and
the
that's
school
yeah,
board.
exactly. And Courtney Vanderbunt is the perfect example. The other side plays dirty,
Yeah.
and she, like too many of us Democrats, don't want to play dirty. But I think
Well,
we're discovering.
did anybody see the National Democratic chairman today on TV?
Yeah, yeah,
Ed Martin, I think his name is.
yeah.
He said, "We are not taking pencils to a knife fight anymore.
Good, yeah.
We're gonna fight fire with fire. Gloves are off." Now, what transpires, I have no idea,
Well,
Yes.
but he's on record saying, we're gonna fight dirty.
let's be honest.
Which
That's
brings
not
up
going
the
to.
question of gerrymandering in Florida. Like,
Yeah,
where
well,
does
what
it
is the
stand?
gerrymander?
By the way,
Are we
we're
gonna do
already
anything?
we're already gerrymandered. But yes.
Yeah, are they
Yeah.
gonna try and do it again?
Yeah, I
Like
don't
Texas
know.
to Florida?
Yeah, don't know. being a red state, I don't think so, but certainly in California, Illinois, and New York, that sounds like it's a strong possibility. But if we have no candidate, then what are we fighting for? That's the issue.
Yeah.
If we have no candidate. And what does that mean to a Democratic Party voter, or even a liberal thinker or progressive who picks up a ballot and discovers that there's Randy Fine on one side and on the other side?
There's no.
The lesser of two evils.
Yeah,
We
well,
have to find what that is.
yeah, but if there's nobody on the opposite side, no Democratic running, that says something very sad and very unfortunate about
For other offices.
our people. Yeah. So, Vicky, by the way, you have to jump in, yell, scream. Go.
I have another topic.
Okay, please, because we want to get to the issue. We had a request to deal with the issue of the federal workforce. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna, if you don't mind, this was on the topic. I have submitted a name to Janet Sullivan of someone who I feel would be a very viable candidate.
Great.
I do know that she has reached out to that individual. Whether he's interested or not, I do not know. But I believe at our last DEC meeting, it was discussed that if you have people in mind, get that information to her, she'll reach out to them. And that's what they've got I don't want to say a board, but a group of people together that are going to vet people.
This is for fine seat?
Yes, to run against one.
Oh, great.
Now, would you allow us the opportunity to encourage that person to run by sharing that person's name?
Well, I mean,
that's because we would all.
I met this individual at the Moody's office when the staff member was there. First time I'd met him, and I was enthralled by what he had to say. He's from Putnam.
Oh.
His name is Tom Townsend, and
Oh,
he
Townsend,
has
okay.
been,
Young guy? He's
No.
fairly young?
well, 50, 60,
Yeah,
63.
yeah.
I
Oh, that's right, we're all, sorry, Joe.
That's young.
I think that's young. Everything's relative.
I know who you're talking about now.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was just very poignant in his speaking, and he had strategy.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
run for office before, school board, served on the school board, I believe. And the group of us that were sitting there talking to him were saying, you need to run, you need to run. I passed his name and information on to Jan Sullivan, and I know she contacted and reached out to individuals to see if he would be interested. Whether he's interested or not, but that's the action that I've taken, and if you have other names, I would just suggest forwarding those on and letting her do her stuff, because, I don't know, I believe they'll support financially and.
Do you have his contact
I
information?
do not.
Okay.
I do.
Because the issue is, do you? Okay, I'll send you an email.
Oh, that's right.
Because
You interviewed him?
I'm
if
getting
he's
ready to.
if he's thinking about it,
I'm meeting with him this weekend.
Then please get his contact information, because those of us who want to add a voice to
So
encourage him.
So this is the mystery candidate. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think so.
No, because we met
This
him.
is-
I think I know what you're talking about. There was a mystery person that was going to run, and yeah, this was
The
just
whistleblower.
last week. This was
Yeah.
just,
It
well,
was the
2 weeks.
whistleblower.
Yeah, I know you were talking, because I was at that function too, for the Ashley Moody
Right, right,
thing.
right.
I know you were talking
What's his
about
number?
it. And somewhere, I just saw a blurb about
I'll
somebody
email it.
Secret, yeah.
running
Okay,
for.
I remember seeing something like that, but I don't think this is the same
Yeah,
individual.
yeah.
I think it's just totally.
All right, so I will share his phone number, and if you want to call and leave a message, a voicemail for him saying, we encourage you to run. By the way, do you know anything about his background qualifications? He was on the school board?
He was superintendent.
Oh, he was
Oh,
superintendent
okay.
of Putnam County Schools?
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
Say no more.
School board.
Okay, if you can be a superintendent of
That's
schools,
hot.
you can
Do
do,
anything.
yeah, you can do anything. By the way, the same is true of teaching, particularly middle school, but that's another story. So if you were had a federal job and someone came over to your desk and said, Jesus has changed my life, I have now accepted Jesus as a personal savior, and I really think you should as well, and we know that that's permitted, is it fair to say permitted or fair to say encouraged by, wasn't that an executive order?
Yeah,
That
sure.
by an executive order by you know who? How would you answer?
Tough toenails.
You know,
I don't think this is something we should get excited about, because all you have to do is say, no, thank you, and it's the end of it. I could counter with, you should join my church,
see that.
Frankfurter, whatever. Right? It's just it was another extraction, trying to get away from Epstein, and he threw that out, among other things. Not worth getting excited.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay, I mean, we did have a request to discuss that, but
What do you think?
if it's just a discussion,
Kurt was
here's
pretty
the-
in tune with, when we were throwing stuff on the wall to see what was sticking.
Yeah.
Does
No.
this fall into that
Yeah.
category?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think
Arnie?
that's sound.
So I have an answer, because obviously I get that, being a non-Christian, being a Jew. So I say, thank you for being concerned about me, but I come under another covenant, but thank you very much.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know whether that attempt to proselytize deserves such a polite answer, but okay, that's my own personal opinion, and once again, that's going high when the other person, it seems to me, is going low, but I understand the distraction.
I got into an art discussion with somebody one time who somehow we got into religion. And I thought I'd be polite, and I said, well, I'm agnostic. And then this gentleman starts to tell me how he knows that Jesus is the Son of God, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, you believe that? He said, no, I know that's true. And I said, well, I have to pull back my agnostic. I'm really an atheist. Right? And so there's nowhere to go with these people. And just tell them, hey, fine.
Let me get another foot in that hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody will not just say, I believe,
Right.
which is all faith is, I believe, right, versus I know, then just write them off. Done.
Okay.
I had an
All right,
interesting
that-
experience on the other side of this equation, in which, while I was an executive manager with a Boeing company, we went through a deep dive on religious practices and tolerances, because we had Muslims working for us, and unlike the Christians that go to church on Sundays, Muslims pray
Right, every day,
daily,
multiple times.
multiple times a day, and the company, in support, tried to come to some middle ground of tolerating their religious practices as an effort to be a good steward. And we got to the point where an employee could have a picture of his prayer rug on his desk, and he at his desk, which at all possible, if we could face the desk in the right direction. I mean, it was intentional to try to serve them. And the Christians were losing
Lost their
their
minds.
minds. And then I said to them, I go, you smoke, right? But you're not allowed to smoke in the factory, so you gotta take a 25-minute hike during a 10-minute break in your union to go have a smoke break. Do you really wanna start this conversation? It got very quiet, because they understood tolerance comes in all forms, and respect. And we were also taught that we as employees have the right to ask us, the employee next to you, cut back on your perfume. I don't like your joke. I don't appreciate what you're wearing. And it was designed to be a dialogue between two employees, first and primarily. So the very first question an HR complaint inspector is gonna go, well, did you tell Mark that you didn't like the aftershave he was wearing? No, I just went straight to HR. You're now gonna be schooled on your understanding, because that's what it is. They come to your desk and they talk about Jesus Christ. You say, I'm sorry, I'm a Jew, but thanks for your concern. End of story. And that is what is empowerment looks like. Now, if they don't stop, that's a different conversation.
That's a frequent,
If they come up and just say, do you know about Gilgamesh? They say no, they say, well, you learn about Gilgamesh and then we'll have a discussion. So, I mean, there are all different ways just to stop it.
That's a personal anecdote. I did, at the invitation of the library, a session at the library, well attended, about what Judaism is all about. After the meeting, a woman, I believe Filipino, came over to me and said, you're wrong, you got to accept Jesus, and so on. And my answer, and an answer I use very frequently, is that I bet you know in your heart that when God becomes incarnate here on earth, it's not as a white male, but it's as an Asian female. And she was so stunned by that she walked away, and that was the end of the conversation. But I think a good offense is better than a good defense, but we could argue that. But yes, the issue is a distraction. However, in the federal workforce today, it is possible now to proselytize with your coworkers.
Well, at one point, I used to sell to prisons, among other things, and I got to know some Muslims, primarily black Muslims, who much more disciplined than I will ever have, right? And my takeaway was that it was good for the people that really took it up, because it got them to a different place. And I got to know this one Imam is a
gave
me a Quran and all that
the
stuff.
clergy person. Yeah.
It's whatever.
Yeah.
They seriously fast. Like the Catholics will do like abstaining during Lent 1 day of the week. These people, they fast for a month straight, man, from sunup
Oh right,
to
yeah.
sundown.
During Ramadan.
They're serious.
Yeah.
They're serious.
During Ramadan. So is our opposition to Randy Fine our local response to the gerrymandering that's soon to take place in Texas? First of all, is the Democratic Party, the Democratic members of the legislature in Texas leaving the state, is that an effective response? Is there any effective response?
So far. Now, what I think will be very interesting, Cronin has called for the FBI.
Cornyn,
has called for the FBI because the state can't go and drag him back. So, in my mind, if the federal government sticks the FBI on these people, it's all over. Just forget it. You can quit having these meetings because there's nowhere to go. Right?
Well,
I mean, we might as well just take up arms and join the resistance, because where do you go?
I find it interesting, and maybe I'm looking at it differently. But if you look at the history, I'm from North Carolina, very gerrymandered. But if you look at the history over the last 30 years, and they were only doing it every 10 years, the districts change, and they ebb and flow based on, I know this is going to surprise you, voter registration and participation.
What a fantastic
What an
segue.
idea, huh?
Right.
So if you think about it, the gerrymandering is directly driven by voter attendance and registration. Because I don't think any Republican group wants to gerrymander an area that all of a sudden is going to vote all Democrat next cycle. So the intent to predict the future of how a group will vote is relying on past data, not future data.
And also skin color.
Well, that too.
Wow, that's
and there's multiple different. I was reading about it's called cracking, and it was just an amazing article that was talking about, like, they're going to do this Missouri wants to do this for the city of St. Louis.
Yeah.
Because St. Louis is very heavily Democrat. The town.
What's cracking?
Cracking is they run the district lines through the middle of the city. And then
Crack the
they
city.
break the city apart. And so instead of you having one large bulk group, and if you look at Texas,
That's
they
why
only have a
Texas-
small pockets
Yeah,
of
that's why
Democrats.
Texas is the starting point because.
Oh, here in Florida, it's like that too.
Well, that's
But
where next.
it's all based on, because I did a deep dive trying to determine how does a government define and make the decision of districting, voter district, not gerrymandering. And it's based on registrations and voter turnout.
On that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Different states do it differently.
Well, but they're all based on,
The same system, but yeah, but it's how that works is a state issue, not a federal issue.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
If
Go
I
ahead.
could just kind
Yeah.
of put in my plug here. One of the jobs that I've been doing and tasked with doing at the DEC office as just a member and a precinct leader is doing a canvassing, overseeing the canvassing that started in the Josh Will campaign. I don't have a ton of experience in politics. This has all been a jump in and do what I can to help out. Since then, though, we are working on 2 different projects, and Vicki brought this up last week, and I felt like I was a little unprepared, and so I wanted to come back and give you information. And I walked away from that meeting thinking we need to communicate better. And not just Democrats, but all of these groups and all of our discussions and issues, we need to be better communicators. Make sure we know what people are doing. So
And how we can help.
Yeah, that's right. So what we've been doing is we had a group of about 15 people that went out, volunteered to go out and do canvassing on a beta test kind of system. We wanted to know what was working. Our intended target was Democrats 50 years and older and who have not registered to vote by mail, because vote by mail proves to be a more effective and you get more people voting if they're registered to vote by mail. So
Which
we
is
went.
why they all got kicked off.
Right,
Right.
exactly right.
Right, that's
And
another,
And that's the
Exactly why.
thing, that
Yep.
all voters got kicked off and they have to sign up every
They
2
have to sign
years
up
now.
again.
Every
So-
2, okay, I thought it was
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
Good info.
No, every 2 years. So we went out, we developed the first plan, and after, that was 2 weekends in a row that we did this. We had, like I said, about 15 canvassers. I tried to make sure I get the numbers right. We knocked on, and it was in precincts 510 and half of 507. We knocked on about 763 doors, not about, it was 763 doors. We got 54 signed vote by mail forms by
Nice.
doing that. And that's a lot when you consider that. I think our success rate was 49%, which is really high in actually making contact with the voters. So,
good.
we left 130 forms with the individual voters. We gave them information and clarity on how to proceed with that. And from that beta testing, I came back with ideas from the people who were actually out there doing the job, and we made some changes. That's what we've been in the process of doing, is making changes
Yeah.
to the process itself. We've found different reports that we can do in the system, accessing those reports. It all, though, revolves around how many people are willing to participate and get out there and do these things to the success rate. Because Josh Will campaign, I can tell you, on one hand, I can tell you the people I could actually count on going out and doing every single thing that they were tasked with and going above and beyond. But the other people, it was kind of, and everybody has their bag and their deal.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like,
Right.
you give me 15 groups of people that are like,
Reliable.
Mary Liz is one of our best canvassers who can go out there and do it, and she makes a big dent in what we're trying to accomplish. 15 groups of people to do that, and they're dedicated and they go out, we can make the same kind of success rate that, well, what we need.
Well, that right there,
Yeah.
that happened right there.
In 2 weekends.
In 2
Right,
days.
so that happened.
We already got
Yes.
50 people signed up.
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
So that happened right there, and that sounds amazing, okay? Precinct captains were elected to seats. Can every precinct captain go in every single precinct and make that happen?
Oh, yeah. But that's
That's
been
awesome.
part of the process, is trying to get a process in place of precinct leaders, because just to clarify, there are 2 different programs going on right now. Precinct leaders have been tasked with going out and contacting new Democrats that are in their precincts, and just welcoming them and giving them the opportunity to know we're out there, we're doing our thing. The information is all in the office, depending on the precinct leader, what they want to do, what they want to talk with their leaders about. It's all right there.
So it's individual.
Yeah.
Preference,
People do.
however they
Preference.
feel. That's their
Good. Kurt.
precinct leader.
Which organization are you working for? Are you getting a PhD?
Democrat. Mhm.
I work in the DEC office. I'm a
Really?
Democrat, yes.
Democratic Executive Committee.
She just does this all voluntarily.
It's volunteer, I don't
She
work.
just does it.
And I work for her.
Yeah.
And she gets
and-
paid the same amount I do.
and
You earned
Yeah.
that. You-
She
you-
tips really well.
You earned that, Josh.
You got some good data here. You should
Yeah.
be doing a PhD.
Yeah.
You could
Well, and
have, you could get a
and the whole
PhD.
idea
I
is-
worked on it on my end,
We're gonna
we're
try
getting a
to
master's degree.
expand this,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the
Oh,
whole goal is to,
absolutely.
because we
But it
will,
has
the
to
goal,
be-
we have to get
Absolutely.
Dem voters signed up.
And it has to be a very,
My husband is exactly who you're speaking about.
yeah.
If the process was a little more accessible for him, and I know to those of us that use technology, it's
Give me
very
your hand.
accessible to me, and I did it, but for some reason I didn't do it for him.
I'll tell you
And
that.
then, you know, he's of that age, especially that 50 older, where their first place, a lot of them, is not to go online. It's
No.
like,
Right.
ugh.
Yeah.
Well, and
But you hand them a card and you say, you know, this all you have to do is fill us out. I'll put the stamp
Do
on
you
it.
know that
we'll
it
pop in
takes
the mail.
1
Less-
minute, 1 minute to call the supervisor of elections office and
to
sign up?
confirm that you're
Yeah.
registered to vote. It took literally 47 seconds for me to call, confirm, I was off the phone
I
for
think
47
And
that's
all of
seconds.
that
we're
are you
happy.
guys getting out there, having a nice conversation, and then stop, just letting them take a 5-minute break from their day, grabbing their attention and getting it done, right?
And we want to be consistent in how we're approaching that, especially the vote by mail initiative, and trying to get people, because the resistance that we are getting back right now are people who, nope, I'm gonna go, it's my right, I'm gonna go to the site, that's just the way I've done it. That doesn't mean you have to vote by mail. It just means that we give you that information, and what we use as an example is the special election with Josh Will. It wasn't, not everyone had the same polling location because it was a special election, and so you're gonna get that information
That's
delivered to your home. You'll know where your polling location is.
I've been voting by, I was so happy when I signed up to vote by mail. I love the process. I love getting everything ahead of time so I can read all the amendments and stuff like that. And like you said, if you don't trust the US mail, or you don't trust this or that or the other,
You can always
take
vote.
it.
Take it,
Slide
take it
in,
down,
just
yeah,
go and
take it
take
personally.
it. It's just an education process because,
easy.
you know, some of these people don't understand the process.
Uh,
I think
Also,
you're
how
right. I
many
think-
people didn't even know about the special election, right?
Sure.
How many Democrats did
My
not
husband
vote
wouldn't have
in the
known
special
if it
election
wasn't for
because
me.
they weren't aware of it?
That's right.
But if they got it delivered to their home by mail,
That's right.
Exactly.
they would have known it was happening.
So maybe we can-
So when
Didn't
we-
everybody get
A sample ballot,
something
if you read
If
it.
they move.
supervisor of election?
I don't-
Because I had a conversation
No,
with.
I believe there was
Yeah, a lot
there's
of
a
people
sample
just throw
ballot.
it away, you know, people.
But still, it
I-
doesn't hurt. By the way, excuse me, but it was mentioned you need to re-up every 2 years. There's nothing to stop you from calling every year and just double checking your status because the status has changed, or they think you died, or they think you moved away. So call the supervisor of elections office frequently, spend 47 seconds, it will be well worth it. I want to know.
Also, a lot
I-
of people, I believe, still think they are registered because they don't know that they got
Precisely,
kicked off.
precisely.
I just have one question for you guys. Is there another, synonymous language that we can use when we're talking to the people while we say vote by mail, so they don't automatically get turned off and shut down? Like, is there another quick way to define that process? because it's much bigger, like we all have just been discussing, than just voting by mail.
Mhm.
It's about accessing information, having information come to your home. That if you don't sign up for it, vote by mail, you're not gonna get it. So is there another, like,
You know, I
it would be
think-
great if we could think of a way to describe it to people that's not necessarily vote by mail, because it does, I think it shuts people down that are against it, or they don't understand it, or they're afraid of it.
I think
Automatically.
going out and
Yeah.
talking to people one-on-one, you kind of get a feel for your audience and what's going on. And so I think it depends on that. I think that's a good question. How I approach it is just, hi, this is who I'm with. And, you know, with things that are going on in the world right now, we just want to make sure that, you know, you have the information you need when it comes time to
I would
vote.
just love the name to sound more like, it comes right to your house.
I see what you're saying.
In Ohio, by the way, it's called a convenience.
Yeah.
It's done for convenience. For convenience, we want to save you having to go, this is convenient for you.
Convenient
We'll send you,
polling
yeah,
access or
and so on.
something.
By the way, you need to know that he's not here today, and they've been on and off to Stansell. Mark Stansell ran for city council. He lost by 2 votes. So think of the 49 that vote by mail, even if half of them ignored it, but that anybody, 1 or 2 people had voted on his behalf.
That was at
We'd
the-
have a Democrat on the city council.
No,
One more.
that was at the primary.
Primary,
There were 3
Yeah,
people.
Okay, but.
He would have been one of the 2.
Right, who went on to the
running.
main election, right, but he
One of
lost
the
by 2
other-
votes.
Right.
One of the other things I just want to mention is we are now venturing out also, and we are contacting, or going to be contacting no party affiliate.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
right.
So,
Can anybody tell me what's the fastest growing party in the country?
NPA.
Progressives.
Independent.
NPAs.
NPAs, no party affiliation.
And over half of people under the age of 30 fall into that group,
Yeah.
which is why the Democratic Progressive caucus that Matt's putting together is so important to pay attention to, because everybody that I've talked to says the one group we're missing are the young people that need to be heard. We need to hear them.
I had a news article, it was an opinion actually, by the Washington Post that I would love to share with you. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
It's about Democrats and their thoughts and processes as far as leaning left, leaning right, and it's really interesting. It's an opinion piece, but the numbers don't lie.
Right.
It's got some numbers in there.
And NPAs can destroy gerrymandering
Yeah.
plans.
And by the way, you realize that, and the previous, before Josh Wheel, what was his name? The pastor from Ocala, actually he was from the west side of Ocala. And Stockton was Pastor Reverend Stockton, and people woke up and says, why is Ocala in our district? Well, because Ocala is that area, all of that area is reliably red, is reliably Republican, and so they want to bring it here to cancel out any successes that we might incur and achieve by being increasing Democratic participation. So, but gerrymandering's not our friend. We need to keep the Epstein file, that we need to keep that rolling so that when Congress comes back in session, we can watch that. And again, I don't know how much influence, you saw what happened when we tried to reach Randy Fine on some of these issues, but we'll keep trying as well, and hope that you'll join us next week. But Kurt, go ahead.
How many women did he fool around with?
Hundreds, if not
Yeah.
thousands.
It's 1,000.
Talk about
That's
Epstein?
what came out last night.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that figure.
Just listen to a couple of testimonies.
No, that's
and you get
that's
the
a
full
true
picture.
figure.
Epstein?
You get the full
Epstein.
picture.
Yeah, as I said, we'll save that for
Maxwell.
next week. But
1,000.
yeah,
I think Elaine was trying to
1,000.
jump
Can you
in.
figure that out?
He was trafficking in marijuana.
yeah, go ahead. Delane, what were we gonna say?
I was just gonna say that, 2 things. You're right, redistricting has a normal process of doing that. However, this one in Texas is a little different because it's a request that I want 5 seats, just like he did, saying I want 11,000 votes. So that's what makes this one different. But you're right, if it's a normal redistricting, yes, they go by the different locations and how the census has changed and stuff, but this one is different because of that.
And that's why
Illegal.
5051, I'll
I'm
make
just
sure that
different.
they're 5 digits,
Right?
had a campaign to no kings in this country, but he thinks he's the king and he can direct them, you get me 5 seats. Just like he called the, what's the guy's name in Georgia and said, just find me 11,000
Yeah.
votes, you know,
So
and
that's
here's
right.
find me seats and so on. So
The
when you-
second thing is, if the Republicans can reach out and try to persuade with emails or however they're reaching out to the MPAs, why can't the Democrats as well?
Yeah.
Why not try
Well, that's
to
what they're,
send that information?
yeah, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. Yeah, I think. The question is how many NPAs are Republican adjacent and how many are Democratic adjacent, but nonetheless, we need to reach out to everybody. And in fact, there are disaffected Republicans out and about, and perhaps their minds can be changed. That's perhaps I would benefit by banging my head against the wall and nothing would happen. But we have to try. We have to try. Okay, we need to finish up. Go ahead, Vicky.
I have something that's time sensitive. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago here in our group in regards to the library, and there was a Holocaust survivor that was at the library and spoke, and some of us went, and then we talked about it here after. And I just wanted to bring up that it's a series, and so the next speaker is before our next meeting. So anybody who's watching or listening, if you're interested, please look on the library page. This group, if we want to show support to the library and their programs, the next speaker is before our meeting, next Wednesday at 10 a.m. So anybody who's interested, you could go listen to this speaker at 10 a.m. at the library, and then when the speaker is done, come to this meeting. So for more information, please go to the Flagler County Public Library page and look into that.
Do we know who the speaker is?
It's a Holocaust survivor again. There's more information about it. There's a program in Jacksonville that has these speakers come, and there's pictures and stories, and it's very interesting. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of
It's
the next
urgent
one.
now, given the
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
I interviewed a Holocaust, I don't know if I couldn't really call Mr. Hollander a Holocaust survivor. Most of his family was wiped out, but what an interesting story he had. But, even when I interviewed him as a senior in high school, he was the first one to say to me, there's a sense of urgency to get all of our stories.
Right. That's what this was all about.
Aging,
It
and
was
that
a-
was,
Yeah.
well, I'm not gonna tell you how long ago it was.
There's a
I
woman
was
who
in high
told
school.
all about her family and how her family came to America. It was very interesting. So.
Oh, they
Sure.
are.
Again, thank you very much. We have lots to discuss, and we'll continue the discussion next week. And tune in. Look, by the way, look online. Conversations in American Democracy. Watch the video of this and leave comments. Very important. Click that you like it, and that will raise our visibility as more and more people. And I'm surprised people have come up to me and says, "Oh, I'm watching and so on." I don't know how you even heard about it, but we're delighted, and keep up the good work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, done? Okay. Now we can, yeah, but you can.